Hello, this is Will from JourneyToWallStreet.blogspot.com. I'm here to review the trades for April 20th, 2012. So I did it. I made it to 7 days as consecutive gains. This entire week I was positive for each day. So because of that, I had my eye on my P&L the entire time. I was just being a punk and pretty much every trade. I would be super small over here, super small over there, and risk so little here, passing up on this trade, passing up on that trade, and it just wasn't the right way of trading until finally I just said, forget it. Let's trade things the right way according to your rules. So with that said, let's go straight to the trades. One of my first trades this morning was in Rvbd. I told you I traded it in after hours yesterday. I shorted 25, covered 25.50, covered 25, did all that, and what did you know? Look at this, another gap down today. So when I was looking at Rvbd, I was thinking, okay, it's gone down like what, almost 30%. At some point, it needs to get bought up. So I was just kind of anticipating or waiting for some sort of pullback, something like this. And then I was looking for maybe an inside bar or something to kind of give me an idea that it could break free. So after this breakout, I noticed the inside bar here. This is a pretty wide range bar, so I didn't want to give it this much room. So I wanted to look on a tape to see if I could find something that could help me determine when to be in or out. So I kind of drew like a little trend line here and just followed the tape closely. So anyways, once it ticked above 60, I got in, and it worked immediately, but boom, it just came crashing down. And after that, I just got stopped out. I thought it was a decent attempt to maybe for it to catch a bid, but the selling pressure was too great. After that, I didn't know what the stock was doing. I wanted to short the 70 like so many different times because I saw a bunch of selling on the tape, but I never was able to pull the trigger because, like I was saying, I was apprehensive of all my trading. But had I shorted the 70 with a stop above 80, then this is a pretty decent move for that type of risk. But anyways, you just gotta stick with your rules and be consistent no matter what. No matter if you're trying to stay positive or whatever, you still gotta do it. Next trade I was in was in COF. This was sort of a blind lead follow of trade ideas. Trade ideas said that it was consolidating, so I flipped over, and what do you know? It had a 15-minute inside bar. So I made it very simple. I put in a stop trigger above and a short trigger below. Excuse me, a buy stop above and a sell stop below. So whichever it triggered, I would just follow. And then eventually the short triggered. So I did my analysis and I found out that the measure move was right at 20, 54.20. So I just put it in order and just let it marinate. And later in the day, it hit my target. So, it's a pretty decent risk versus reward. I was risking maybe 16, 17 cents, and I got about 50 cents. So, not too bad. Next trade was in CCJ. This was another little apprehensive trade. So 15-minute inside bar here, went long, super small, and I just took the measure move of the inside bar here. While I was in the trade, I did measure out that there's this bull flag here, and the measure move for that would have been right there. So had I stuck with the trade, maybe I would have been able to catch this, but I punked out here for a very, very tiny gain. Another trade that was alerted to me by Trade Ideas is MHP. Strong move, 15-minute inside bar. Just bought it on the break, but it just had no follow through. There was a seller at the hole 50, and it just basically would not lift. So eventually I moved my stop up and I got stopped out. It could have had a short opportunity here. the setup was there. See kind of a little pullback here, over seller on top, and an inside bar right there. The risk was what, 2 cents, and you know there's a seller on a tape, so that's kind of two check marks against you. Well, okay, it's a pullback play, that's one check. It's an inside bar play, so that's two checks. And there was a clear seller on the 50, so there's three checks. So this was potentially a tier 3 or a max risk trade, and the risk would have been what, 3 cents, and the possible gain was let's see, when would be a logical place to cover. I mean if you just want to draw a trend line there, basically you don't cover until the end of the day. So let's just be conservative and say you cover at the 60. So that was still a almost 40-cent move for 3 cents of risk. That risk reward is pretty insane, but I was not in this trade. Next trade, VMware. So I had this for a swing trade because I kind of liked it in the 114 area, and my stop was below. What was it? I put it below 112.50 just because I didn't want to get stopped out in the pre-market, so I was just watching it today. Had a nice little run, tried to get to 15, but really couldn't, and then kind of failed over there. Towards the middle of the day, I saw it kind of trying to pull back. I thought this maybe this was a bear flag failure or whatnot. So I kind of looked for an inside bar, and I took the long. So this is the inside bar I saw. Let me retry it. This is the inside bar I saw, and I took the long. It worked initially, but then as you can see, it failed and continued to fail. But I got stopped out of my position down here, and I also took out my swing trade in the same area, so I took a little loss on that too. Next trade was an Sndk, basically a attempt at a tape trade. I noticed that it was kind of chopping around all morning, and then there was a ton of buying going on at 35. So I just gave it a try, and no, I didn't get stopped out here. I got stopped out here because I remembered that I was thinking about going back in, because all of a sudden it went boom, went up 14 cents. But I decided, nah, it's still weak. Tape doesn't really tell me what I wanted it to see, and I didn't rebuy at 35. Then it dropped down again, this time even more, came back up eventually and kind of chopped around there until finally took off for good. But how many times you have to be wrong? How many times you have to be wrong here, and how much you have to lose until you're right? And I wasn't willing to make that many trades on this stock. Probably a good idea, even though I missed out of this much a move. It really doesn't make much sense to get chopped up around here. Finally, ABX. So this is going to take a little explaining. There's a lot to this. First things first is, as you can see, it's below the inside week. That's one. If you look at the daily, it's below the inside day. So that's two. If you look at the, here's a 15-minute chart, 15-minute inside bar that I was alerted to initially, because as you can see here, this shadow triggered below the inside day, so I was alerted to it from Trade Ideas. So on my Ameritrade account, I just decided to just short here for fun, because I just wanted to follow Trade Ideas. It wasn't until I was in the trade and started working that I backed up and saw all these things. Okay, so at that point, when I saw this inside bar here, I decided to get out of Ameritrade. Okay, so after that, I kind of switched away, but AVX was brought back to my attention when I noticed that it had this little pullback here. So not only did it have this pullback, but you see how this is a bullish bar and then a bullish bar that got sold down, and if it was going to go, then this should be another bullish bar. So chances are this is going to continue downwards. So here I have a very clear setup where there's an inside bar here, a pull-in here, it's below the inside day, and it's below the inside week. So right here we have A plus setup. Oh, on top of that, there was also a very heavy seller at 50. Excuse me, at 53. So at this point, I was short 50 of a stop above 54. Here it almost stopped me out, but good thing I had it above 54, so it doesn't trigger unless it's like 55. So I was still in the stock. Then it pretty much chopped around for quite a while here, and it didn't really do anything. But if you notice, another 15-minute inside bar developed. Very, very small inside bar. So at this point, I knew. Sorry, let me bring it in closer. So at this point, I knew two things. I knew that there was a seller at the 50 and a buyer at 47. Just non-stop buying and a little bit of selling, but most of the things are done most of the orders were done in between. So once I saw that there was a new 15-minute inside bar, my risk is now 2 cents. Before it was 4 cents, now it's 2 cents. So I was sized at my at as much buying power as I could get. And as soon as the 47 dropped, boom, it went lower. But it came right back up. So I covered some at 44, just because I had a lot of shares and it was the right thing to do. Next, after that dropped, I covered more at the previous low of the day around here. And that was that. I made the trade. There's not much more you can ask for. I was able to have a 2 cent risk and capture almost 15 cents. That's that risk reward is very good. So this trade got me to start thinking, if this is an A plus trade, was I big enough? The answer is no, because my risk here was really only 2 cents. I could have gotten bigger. I think I only risked like $40 on this trade, even though I used all my buying power. Next thing is, how do I scale out? What do I do with the extra lots? How much of the original 2,000 shares that I had do I want to keep for my target? My target was actually at 40, not 35. I just happened to cover at 35 because it just dropped below 40. But the thing is, if I was risking $100 on this trade, then you can look at it as each tier is $25. 100 divided by 4. Tier 4 will be max position. So my goal is to have at least 2 tiers when I cover at my final target. And then I can have 2 tiers where I could just kind of make trades and reduce my risk. So I could have covered 1 tier at 47 because it was holding quite a while. And then I could cover another tier at 44 because it kind of dropped down and came right back up. And then while holding cover another tier at 40, which was my original target, which would have still gave me a 5-to-1 risk reward, and then let the rest of my shares cover at a better price than the 40, which I did at 35. A lot of these is very technical. I'll have a better document written about this in the coming days, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I want to handle A+ trades, and to me, what is an A+ trade, and all these different things below the inside day, below the inside week, a pullback on a weak stock, and an inside bar at the apex of the pullback, and also the tape trade that tells me that there's a seller. Furthermore, another inside bar with an even more identifiable seller and an identifiable buyer that gives me a lot of information for me to take the risk that this has more downward action to it. I know I said a lot, but I'll have this written down at some point. So that's all for my day trades, and I just want to go update some quick swing trades. UA, Under Armour, had earnings today, and it broke above this kind of tight consolidation range. So I bought some call options above 100. Really nice volume on this breakout too. That's kind of what you want to see. A breakout above a consolidation range with very high volume. Next trade, also a swing trade, is EL. I'm not sure what was the news behind it, but it kind of looks better on the weekly. But you see kind of a flag here and a breakout through that flag. So basically I'm long above 64, above this area here. Update on Ren. Yesterday we talked about how it pulled back, and today it kind of continued with that move. So as long as it's heading in the right direction, I don't have to take any action. Finally, VVUS, dead money, but at least it's in the upper range, and I'm actually in the green of this money, green of this stock. My cost basis is right in the middle of this range. So my stop is below here, and anything above this area is a buy, is an add. So we'll just see how this turns out. But this has been a very great and productive week. I felt like I stayed disciplined, stick to my rules for the most part, and my trades made sense. So hopefully I can keep this up next week as well, and get some more detail on how I want to position size and tier size and scaling in and out and the max risk and all that good stuff. My weekly review will be posted soon, and I'll have a little bit more detail about that there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on Monday.